What's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Ducks Dish podcast. I'm your host, Max Torres, with ScoopDuck on 3, coming to you on Thursday, January 30th, 2025. Got a very special episode in store for you guys today, as ScoopDuck owner publisher Justin Hopkins and myself are joined by former Oregon Ducks kicker Camden Lewis. Cam, how are we doing today? Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I'm good, man. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm looking forward to it.
So yeah, go for it, Justin.
No, good. No, it's just fun for us to have a guest. It's usually you and I a lot of times, Max. So it's fun to have somebody and Oregon's leading scorer in football history. Does that usually get you in like nightclubs and stuff for free when you throw that out there?
I'm usually not the one that brings it up, but I guess if I'm out around Eugene and that's what I want to do, maybe. But I try not to bring it up too much.
No, so let's start at the beginning, right? You're in North Carolina, decide, hey, Eugene's the place for me. I got to go all the way across the country. What kind of went into that decision for you, and what was it about Oregon initially that kind of brought you out that far?
Yeah, for sure. My recruiting story is actually super interesting. I was committed to Minnesota for a long time. I was going to play for PJ Fleck. That was my first scholarship offer. Getting recruited as a kicker in general in high school is tough, and it's even tougher now with the transfer portal. But I was committed there for a long time. I had a really good senior year and started to get some more interest from some schools, and one of those schools is Oregon. So as a kid who is committed to Minnesota, not understanding how serious of a business college football was, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go take a visit at Oregon. But Minnesota didn't like that very much, rightfully so, and they pulled my scholarship. So it was sort of like I was sitting in Eugene on my official visit, and I was like, oh, I don't really have an offer anywhere right now. But the Oregon visit was unbelievable. And I would have made the decision anyway to go to Oregon. So it ended up working out great, but I think official visits are supposed to be fun. But me and my mom and dad were sitting there stressed out of my mind, like waiting for them to say, hey, you want to come here? And Coach Chris Ball brought me into a suite in the basketball arena, and eventually he said that, and I was like, I'm a Duck. So incredible decision. I wouldn't have it any other way. I actually had a mentor in high school named Matt Wogan, who's a kicker at Oregon back in 2012, 2016, around that time. And he always wore his Oregon gear out to train me when I was in high school. He's from Charlotte as well. So it was always a dream of mine to go there, and to have that dream come true was pretty awesome.
Nice. Well, I didn't know about the whole Minnesota scholarship situation. That's definitely a unique wrinkle into the story, but I'm glad you ended up at Oregon. And it was certainly fun watching you. I think one of the questions that I had just about your journey, Camden, and your time at Oregon, I don't know if it's like an adage or a saying, but it's something along the lines of like, being a kicker is kind of lonely, or a punter, I guess, maybe any kind of specialist, because you're out there just doing the same thing over and over again. I was a manager in high school, so I was shagging a lot of kicks for our kicker. But just what was that like for you? We hear so much about the brotherhood of the Oregon team. I'm sure you got to experience that, but was that kind of your experience? Just was it kind of lonely at times?
I would say earlier in my career, maybe. But later in the career, you've been starting for so long. I was on the leadership council. I was a team captain. I think I earned my respect in multiple ways over time, even just in the weight room, like pushing myself and trying to keep up with the guys is something that I think a lot of guys respect. The whole off season, we're all working out together. We're on the field at 6 a.m., doing the same conditioning, the same running. And that's really where you earn your respect. And then if you back it up on the field, then guys are going to support you even more. And then when you're going through a hard time, they're going to have your back. So I would say, it maybe to the public, it's a thankless position for sure. You're either the hero or the villain pretty much. And if you're not perfect, you're the villain. But that's what you sign up for. But I wouldn't say that's how your teammates treat you, especially not at Oregon.
What, obviously Mario Cristobal gets a bad rap because of his exit and departure from Oregon, which I understand from doing this a long time. That's a business decision. That's really not anything that he said, screw Oregon, I'm out of here. So I get it, but a lot of fans don't. What was it like, would you say, kind of being in the locker room and around Mario Cristobal? And I know you were in a little bit of a different light than maybe some of the other guys, but just kind of what was your thoughts on being there and watching him? Because really, he did kind of revitalize the program and steady it and start taking it on an upward trajectory before his departure. Just what did you kind of feel about Coach Cristobal and playing for him?
Yeah, I really liked Coach Cristobal. He's the one who recruited me. It was definitely tough for him to go, but one of the things that I was so grateful for him is I was benched in 2020, and Henry Cattleman played the rest of that season. Henry was one of my best friends, so I supported him through that. But I went into the 2021 offseason and worked my butt off. I was like, I'm going to earn the spot back. You know, I'd started for 2 years. I was like, I was going to do anything I could possibly do to get back to that spot. So the fall camp rolled around, and I had pretty much a perfect fall camp. It couldn't have really gone any better. I definitely won the job statistically during that fall camp, but it was, okay, do we put the kid who struggled all last season, or do we put Henry in, who had a perfect season? And Coach Cristobal looked at the fall camp stats. I had been the leader through camp, and he gave me a second chance when he definitely didn't have to, and he got criticized for it by the fans. I mean, that season I was all conference and had a fantastic year, and I have him to thank for that. So it was tough to see him go for sure, but I never was upset with him for going to his alma mater. I thought it made perfect sense. When the job opened up, I was like, that'd be great for Coach Cristobal. So it's a business, but I thought Coach Cristobal was awesome, and I thought that was a great decision for him, as much as it was hard for Oregon fans.
Yeah, that was definitely a rocky time. I know for me, like I was still living in Eugene at the time, and since I had gotten into the journalism space, like he was the only Oregon head coach that I had kind of known. So it was a little bit like, whoa, this is really happening. And then especially coming off the loss to Utah, that was definitely just a wild time. I think one of the questions I'd be curious to ask you, Cam, I definitely want to talk some more about your story at Oregon, but just with where the game is going today, like you were talking a little bit about how it's difficult for high school kickers to get recruited because of the transfer portal, but there's so much change in the sport right now, it feels like. So just, it's a broad question, but just what do you think about where the game's at right now? You can talk portal, NIL, playoff, anything like that.
Yeah. It was interesting in my career to start out in 2019, which was, it felt more like old traditional football. It was kind of before NIL. And then by my last season, guys are getting paid. So it was kind of cool to go through that transition, but I don't know if I love it. It's really becoming more of a business, which is hard for guys. I started as a freshman, which is pretty rare for a lot of kickers, but you don't see much of that anymore. Which, that could be a good thing too. Like, was I ready at 18 years old to play in front of millions of people? I don't know, probably not. But it's so much more competitive now. I think it even makes everyone better, but it's also scary for those teams that can't fund those big time players. So is it going to create a bigger separation at the top? I don't know. It's tough, and I'm sure the fans love to debate it, but football is still football, and around the facility, the work's still being put in the same way it was. It's just the guys are different, and your access to guys is now, I guess, easier with the transfer portal. But yeah, I think there's positives and negatives to it. I don't think it's really a good thing or a bad thing.
Kind of going back to maybe kicking specifically, I like that you maybe had some humility, if you will, just said, hey, look, I wasn't playing well. I didn't lost my spot and had to get it back. And I mean, big picture, not about you specifically, but I always feel like being a kicker is kind of like playing golf, right? It's just, you're in the pressure cooker and you either stroke the shot or you don't. And there's really not much in between, right?
Yeah.
And, what's kind of the mental makeup there for you as a kicker when you're going out? I mean, what are you feeling like? Do you get in a funk and you're like, oh man, mentally I am not right? Or, I mean, what just kind of goes into that for a kicker?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You can get into a funk, and especially if there's anything wrong, like with your body, like if you have just a minor injury or something that just takes your swing off a little bit, it can just derail any confidence you have. I think Pat McAfee said one time, sometimes your brain just tells you don't know how to kick a football, which is true. Like, you'll be walking out there and you're just like, it's just not clicking. I think a lot of times golfers understand that, where, one day you're going out there and everything feels right and you can't really explain it. I mean, that can be said about any position, but I think it's more evident with kickers. And it's so hard to get it back. And you hope that doesn't happen on game day. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I went through a stretch of, I think 25, 30 games where I felt like I couldn't miss. And that is the best feeling ever. But then as soon as something happens and you miss a kick and you're like, wait a second, like, something's different, something's changed. It makes it so much harder. I would say later in my career, it wasn't even that I wouldn't even be nervous at games anymore. It was just like, if I missed a kick, it was like my technique or form was off and I was trying to find that form. But yeah, it's not something you can really explain until you've done it. I compare it to golf, but I also play golf and I know it's completely different. So it's similar. And if you play golf, you might understand, but yeah, kicking's weird, man. It's an imperfect skill for sure.
Well, that's why, to follow up, I think it's a lot like golf, because you stripe one and it's down the middle of the fairway. You're like, oh, I got it. And then the next 9 are, sprayed all over the place. Like, what happened?
Yeah.
What am I doing here? Yeah. And it's like, is it mental? Is it physical? Is it muscle memory? Like,
yeah, I would say all of the above.
Yeah.
I would say more mental than anything. If you have any doubt in your mind, any sort of lack of trust in your holder or your snapper, I mean, you gotta understand, like, you're trusting these 2 guys to put the ball in the perfect spot and spin the ball, and like, it has to. If it's not good, then you're probably gonna miss the kick too, and then everyone's gonna blame you, which is just another added effort. I mean, and then even when kicks get blocked, the kicker gets blamed sometime. You're like, oh, what am I gonna do about the guy running in my face? You know what I mean? But you have to be humble. You have to be willing to accept that it's on your shoulders. And I think the lessons that I've learned from being a kicker will make the rest of my life so much easier. Since football ended, I haven't had anything nearly as stressful in my life as going out in front of those fans. Everything just feels easier. And I just feel grateful for that experience.
And Camden, going back to your Oregon career, I was kind of going back and forth with which way I wanted to go with the question, but like, I think most people will probably think about the walk-off kick against Wazoo when they look at your career at Oregon. And I think about just that clutch gene, or being able to come through in those big moments. What do you think is the biggest key or keys for a kicker to be able to do that? Because sometimes you'll get iced, sometimes you'll have, road environments, or there's other things that are out of your control. So what do you kind of attribute to being able to perform in those clutch moments?
Yeah. Trust me, I wish when everyone thought about my career, they're going to think about that Washington State game. But unfortunately, because the way fans are, they're going to think about the Washington game my senior year, which is okay. I get it. But I would say the most important thing is removing a fear of failure from your mind, which is a lot easier said than done. One thing that I had a sports psychologist who I met with a lot, we always talked about process versus outcome oriented. If you're worried about the outcome, then you're probably going to think about the most negative outcome. And then that's probably what's going to happen. But if I think about the process when I go out and practice and I'm kicking, and I'm not really thinking about anything, and I'm just taking my steps, I'm going through a breathing routine. If I can really nail that process when I run out there in front of all those fans, then the outcome should take care of itself. So I would say eliminating that fear of failure by focusing on your process is the most important thing. I think a lot of golfers talk about that too. But I felt like during my senior year, I almost panicked a little bit, and I was like, okay, I need to get back to the process. Like, let me really dial in this step routine and dial in this breathing routine. And then you're overthinking it. So it's like a weird balance of trying to do the right thing, but you never know really what is the right thing. It's good to have a swing thought, like one thing you're thinking about, but if you got all those things flowing through your mind, then you just become paralyzed.
Yeah, this is all sounding like golf, and I'm not a good golfer, so yeah, I'm halfway through the swing thinking, what about my wrist? What about my shoulders? Yeah. Cam, as we know, there's a lot of terrific, student athletes and football players and basketball, whatever sport that don't go on to the next level. life after the sport. So what has that maybe kind of been like for you, and what are you, up to these days since your kicking career at Oregon?
Yeah, I joke about it sometimes because I had a 1 week NFL career with the Denver Broncos, which was an incredible experience. But yeah, I spent the early half of 2024 in Oregon finishing up my MBA. So I was training at the facility up through the summer. Went to a bunch of showcase camps. That was all really good. Had a really good pro day. And I got that shot in the NFL, and I was with the Broncos, and I actually kicked really, really well. But the reality is, like you said, is not many guys are going to make it. And I always knew that because even as a kicker, there's only 32 professional kickers in the world. So if you're not one of those guys, then tough luck. But that's one of the main reasons I prioritize the MBA at Oregon and in my education and networking and just meeting as many people as I could, because when you're a college athlete, it opens up a lot of doors. And I tried to open as many doors as I could while I was at Oregon, and it's paid off. So I finished up that summer and didn't really know where to go. I'd always had food prepared for me every meal of the day. I always had a schedule sent to me the night before, and I basically lived my life how the coaches and staff wanted me to live my life, which is awesome. Being a college athlete, being a college football player especially, is awesome. And I think a lot of guys don't realize that when they're in the moment. But yeah, I was like, well, I can go anywhere now. So I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I hopped in the car and I was like, I want to drive across the country. So I literally got my car, packed up everything I own, and drove from Oregon to North Carolina by myself, staying at friends' houses along the way, which is a super awesome experience. I was home in North Carolina for a couple of weeks, and my girlfriend was starting physical therapy school down in Austin. So I was like, well, let's drive to Austin. So I drove down to Austin, and that's where I am now. And pretty much what I started doing is, reaching out to all my mentors at Oregon, anyone who was willing to talk. I was like, hey, I'd love to grab coffee with you. I'd love to meet you over Zoom. Basically just trying to meet as many people as I could. I got a couple job opportunities that I thought were interesting, but I thought that maybe I didn't actually think this, but you feel like when you're at Oregon, like you're invincible. And I thought, I'm going to finish up and everyone's going to want me to work for them and I'll have all these job opportunities, but that's just not the reality. It's going to open doors and it's going to get you the phone call and get your foot in the door. But the reality is you have to provide value to these people or they're not going to hire you. I applied for jobs, got through the interview process, and then didn't get the final thing because I don't have any work experience other than a few internships in college. So I got
kind of pull out. I'm Oregon's leading scorer.
Yeah, I'm like, dude,
put that on the resume.
Yeah, like don't you want me here? Like, come on. Like I got an MBA. Like, come on. Well, you don't want to hire me? Like this. Like I got all this stuff. But, anyways, I met Corey Maynard, who is an Oregon MBA alumni. Graduated in 2001, and he was in the early stages of starting a company called Backer, which is where I'm working right now. We just sent you some gear, Justin. You got it on right now. I got some Backer gear on me right here.
We're twinsies. Yeah.
Basically, what he told me was his vision is to make gear that fans can wear to game day, but still represent their team. You see a lot of people going to games. They got their Duck gear on, but then they got their big jacket on top of it, and they're you don't really look like a fan. Maybe you're like trying to fit your jersey on over your puffer jacket or something. But why can't fans wear, the gear that the coaches get in the sideline? They got the cool stuff. Like why can't that be available to fans? So, Corey, as a big Duck fan, born and raised in Eugene, he wanted to make that available to the fans. So he developed a line of clothing that allows you to represent your team colors, but also makes you comfortable and allows you to stay through the end of the fourth quarter. You never want to leave a game because it's too rainy, even though it never rains in Austin. But yeah, you can see some of the stuff up there right now. It's a premium price point, but it's a premium product. I would say this stuff is just as good, if not better than the stuff I was wearing when I was on the sidelines. So it's pretty cool that fans have this option available now. And it's been great working here. I feel like this opportunity with Corey has been great for me because he's exposing me to different parts of business and different things that I probably wouldn't be exposed to if I went and worked for a larger company. I love the startup mindset. It's competitive every day. We're trying to, grow our brand and reach out to new people. So it's been a lot of fun. I don't know. What do you think about the product, Justin?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I won't sugarcoat it. Like you said, there's a premium price point there, but the fit and finish of everything, Corey was nice enough to send me a sample of each of the 3 major products there. And I mean, the fit and finish is up there with, and I throw out a name like Kuyu or just some of those really nice brands that you buy and people do pay a premium for, but knowing, hey, I'm going to be able to wear this jacket for 5-10 years. It's not going to start raveling apart or
exactly.
Any of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I mean, again, this isn't for everybody to just hop on and say, hey, I want to buy a $300 jacket or whatever. That's not for everybody, but there is a market for that because we've seen, brands have that. And like you said, this is different. This isn't what Nike's putting out. This is different, and it does serve a purpose. And I've been to some very wet and very cold games in November at Autzen Stadium, and it's nice because now you've got, like you said, you throw on the shirt or the jersey or whatever, and then you're like, game time's at 7:00. You're like, well, I'm covering it up with my big 30-40 degrees out. Well, now you're still repping for the squad. So offered me up some samples, and obviously it's great that you have been able to find a job there. And I do, again, this isn't for everybody, but for the people that value this and for the value quality, I think they're going to be very pleased.
Right. I would say that, it's a premium price, but the things that are available to fans right now they're going to wear out. Like you said, they're going to fall apart. So it's either you buy one of those and then you're buying another one next year, or you buy something that's high quality and it's going to last you for a long time. And this stuff is truly made for fans. You can see the fight song on the inside of the jackets, which I think is such a cool feature. I got the fight song memorized, but some of you guys maybe don't, and that's fine because now you can just go look inside and you got it right there, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's been cool. It's a really cool team of people. A lot of the people working on this project are very successful. I think I'm the youngest person working here by far. So I'm just grateful to have people who are willing to help me learn, and, give me those opportunities that a larger company wouldn't be doing. So, and I get to be around Ducks every day. We got 2 Oregon MBA alumni sitting right next to me every day. So I sit right next to Corey, and whatever I can do to take some pressure off him and, make his life a little easier, allow him to do more important things like get new licenses, for more schools when we start expanding, things like that. I want to give him as much time to do that stuff as possible. So, it's been awesome for sure.
Awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I might have to get myself one of these. These are clean.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. We got the 3 jackets right now: the warm, the dry, and the cool. They're named that because of how they're supposed to make you feel. So the dry will keep you dry, the cool will keep you cool. Justin and I both have the cool on. And it's actually interesting. The fabric is designed to keep you cooler. And I'm sitting here in an air conditioned room right now, kind of cold. So it really does work. The dry one there that you can see on the screen right now is our rain jacket. It's super, super premium design. The zippers are super high quality. I don't own a rain jacket that nice. And it's got a lot of cool features on it. You wouldn't see that I think are really thoughtful. Like even on the inside, you zip the chest zipper down, and there's a glasses cleaner in there. And then you got, spots for your hand warmers inside the pockets. You've got different ways to like adjust it. You can tighten the hood. There's a little bill on the top of the hood that keeps the water from going in your face. It's all super, super intuitive and super impressive in my opinion. So I'm excited to get more schools and just keep rolling.
Yeah, let's just make sure we don't need the Washington line, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, you're already pushing it with the Ohio State line. No, I'm just kidding. I understand how this goes, but yeah.
So every time one of the things we do is we write a letter to every person who purchases a product, and usually I'm writing on there like "Go Ducks" for like a duck order. And I'll sign it and stuff, especially if it's someone I know we're sending it to. But like, I just can't bring myself to write "Go Bucks" on the Buckeyes letters.
No.
It's just ingrained in you. But I think when you're starting a company like this and you understand that, yeah, there's rivalries and there's disagreements by fans and stuff, but we want to provide this stuff to anyone. We want to make it available to anyone, and especially those cold schools where Ohio State fans are going to be freezing their butt off, and especially in those new playoff games in December and January. But yeah, we got to put our loyalties aside sometimes.
Yeah, it's all about business, right? Yeah, every customer matters, whatever affiliation they have.
We might disagree, but
yeah, exactly. You don't have to like them, but yeah.
We'll make you warm and dry.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a follow-up question. This has all been great. Obviously, I know tomorrow on ScoopDuck, I think Corey's going to jump on and just kind of talk about the brand a little bit for fans, and I think even going to offer up a giveaway. That's his realm, but I believe that's something he wants to do. You moved to Austin. I think Austin's a pretty fun city. I've been there a couple of times. I've got a buddy that lives over by Lake Travis. How you liking it out there?
Dude, it's been great. I definitely miss Eugene, but Austin's been cool. There's so many opportunities here that I didn't even realize. It's such a growing city. I'm going to this gym right now that I got like a little free pass at, and now I've signed up for the year. But there's a bunch of former NFL players there I've got connected with. Tons of big companies here, just so many opportunities, and I've been able to just grab breakfast or grab lunch with some pretty awesome people that just are local. We found a great church called Austin Ridge. I think Coach Sarkeesian actually goes there from Texas. And who's the podcast guy? Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's going there right now.
Well, that was going to be my next joke was like, have you hung out with Joe Rogan yet?
Well, we've been to the same church service, but other than that, I have a former teammate down here, Isaac Townsend, who played at Oregon in 2019, 2020, lives here, and he was my roommate. So it's been cool to reconnect with people like that. But honestly, just being able to live with my girlfriend has been really cool. She was on the acrobatics team at Oregon, and I moved in with her down here just to help her pay rent and just to be together. And it's been fun. We're, cooking every meal together, like getting to spend so much time together. She's going through school, so she's super busy, but just to like move on to the next phase of my life has been really awesome. And it's crazy how much free time you have when you're not a college athlete. So I'm just like, I'm trying to fill it all up with stuff. I'm like, I'll do anything. Like, So it's been great for sure.
It sounds like you're focused on the process, not the outcome. And that's a good
thing.
Thing.
Yeah. And like I said earlier, like I thought, things would be smooth sailing and all these opportunities would open up, and they have, but, you got to take things one day at a time. I didn't become a good kicker in one day. It took me years. So I have to understand in my role right now that if I show up and learn every day, if I, work out every day, eat right every day, do the right things every day, it'll pay off. So I'm excited for the future, and I'm excited to just keep checking off little things every day and using the same mindset I had when I was in college and just applying that to different areas of my life.
Well, you can probably get out there and join a Sunday soccer league here pretty soon.
Yeah. I haven't played soccer in so long.
Oh, really?
I actually went and kicked the other day, though. I took like 2 months off, and I went and kicked with this kid who's the son of the worship leader at Austin Ridge, our church. And it was fun. I'm sore. I was sore. My hip was sore for like a week. And I was like, man, how did I get through? Like, kicking's painful. It doesn't feel good to kick that football, man. But it's fun to just go out every once in a while. I'm coaching the kickers at Westlake High School, just on the side for fun. I just like to mentor people any way I can. But Westlake High School is where Justin Tucker went. Actually, I think they call it like quarterback U. I think Sam Ellinger, like Nick Foles, Drew Brees, all these insane quarterbacks went to Westlake High School. But yeah, I'm coaching the kickers there, which has been really fun too.
Cool. I'm glad you're getting to stay involved with everything. A little bit of everything, not just football. But that's nice that you get to kind of dip your toes into the coaching waters a little bit. And nice to see the game from a little bit of a different angle, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think we kept you on longer than we expected, and I know you've got other obligations, but I've really enjoyed having you on, Cam, and I'm sure Max has as well. And this has been fun, and we'll get you back on and maybe see how the line's going and progressing, and how things are going in Austin for you, and we can get deeper into some other stories as well.
Absolutely, I appreciate you, fellas. Great to meet you guys.
Great to meet you, Cam. Thanks for your time.